Oh, stupidity's taken over since the first video I did yesterday on this topic, hasn't it? Let me just show you. So here's Lolybell, Vaughn's cat. That's Bear, my cat, waiting for me to come to bed. They're nowhere near each other, and yet they're right close to each other. So is the tale of Seattle and Calgary. So, here's the thing. It's not just that Ken King came out yesterday and said, we're not looking for a building. It's that Mayor Nenshi came out and said, well, we're trying to get a building. We're still working on it. And odds are it probably gets done. The problem's Gary Bettman won't shut his mouth. Bettman comes out yesterday and he says, and I saw this after I posted that video yesterday, in the short term, the Calgary Flames will stay in Calgary, but in the long term, we'll have to see. If they don't get a new building, we'll see. Really? Really? He's going to say that. And of course, the Calgary Flames thing comes out the same day that Seattle's trying to get a new arena. The Seattle arena vote, it doesn't happen till December. So the fact that these two things happen on the same day is a coincidence. The Flames are not moving to Seattle. The NHL desperately wants that $650 million in expansion fees. And I think it wants it from Seattle. Considering the deep pockets of the men who are behind Seattle's arena upgrade or rebuild or revamp, however they want to do it, they want their money. Relocation, you can charge relocation fees, but not $650 million worth. So what does it do to Calgary? Nothing. The proposal from the city right now seems to be along the lines of they want to build in that same area. Basically, the Saddle Dome gets knocked down. They put up a new building right in that exact same area. Ken King and his group want to put the building somewhere else. And Calgary, the city, is saying, no, you can put the building right here. So the argument hasn't been whether or not a new building gets built. It's where, and it's how much money gets put into it. So the idea is, I believe it's a third of it would be private funds. A third of it would be a ticket tax, where your tickets go to help fund the building being put up. And then the other third would be city taxes, city ordinances, whatever you want to call it. And the city's saying no to that. And I don't really blame them. I don't. But I still think it's going to happen. Calgary's not moving. And if they do, they're not going to Seattle. Fans have asked about Kansas City. Kansas City absolutely makes sense. They have the arena, they just don't have a team. But I can't see the Flames moving to Kansas City. And I have an issue with the NHL going back to Kansas City after it didn't work the first time, considering what happened with Atlanta. Not for my own issue, but because I think the NHL wouldn't want that to happen. I think after Atlanta failed the second time, I think the idea of going back to a city a second time with an NHL franchise, probably not something they're looking to do, which would knock Cleveland out of the discussion. Doesn't knock Houston out of the discussion because they had a WHA team. They didn't have an NHL team. But it does make things a little more interesting. I think in terms of where we're at right now, in terms of what's going on with the Flames, this is simply a case of a fight between ownership and the city, and I don't understand why Bettman's involved. I don't. Unless Bettman has some kind of a stake in this. Does he get money somehow? No, he's the commissioner. Let me make something else clear, and I've noticed a lot of Bettman comments, and I understand it, but Bettman works for the owners. Bettman speaks for the owners. Bettman is the bad cop, so that the owners can deflect. believe me, if owners came up publicly and said, oh yeah, we support all of his ideas, you guys would hate owners a lot. The owners don't want that. So Bettman gets to be the public face for whatever they have to say. He just toes the party line. He's like your HR manager at work. You may not like what the HR manager has to say, but they have to back up management or they're out of a job. The only way Bettman loses his job is if he starts siding with teams and fans and saying, you're right, everything's screwed up. Then owners are going to say, you're not towing the party line right now. Get back in line or you're out of a job. We can find any other yes man to do your job. And I think Bettman's more than that, but I think that's how he would be talked to if he started going off script and going rogue, as they say. I don't like him. You don't like him. A lot of people don't like him. But Bettman does his job. I can't figure out what his job is as it relates to the Calgary Flames right now, though. Because I didn't know that part of his job was to lean heavily on cities to build new buildings. Because he's not down in Glendale saying, oh, we'll have to move the Coyotes if you don't fix this whole thing. I don't see him at Barclays. It doesn't mean he hasn't been there, but I haven't seen him at Islander games saying, I don't think this arena is good enough. The thing with that is he'd have to admit that it was stupid of them to move a team to Barclays in the first place. So he'd have to admit some fault there. And while he's a yes man for owners, he really doesn't like to admit fault either. Especially if he takes part in any kind of a brainchild, whether it's Southern expansion or anything like that. He doesn't want to admit that there's a mistake there. Calgary existed before he got there. The Saddle Dome, admitted, was created and used for their team back in the 80s. So he can criticize the Saddle Dome. He can criticize Calgary for using it and not worry about it. The Saddle Dome is out of date. The Saddle Dome does need to be replaced. But I don't think Bettman needs to be in this discussion. Because it's when Bettman gets involved that I start saying, well, maybe there's something to this. But I'm telling you, they're not going to Seattle. And I honestly don't believe they're going to move out of Calgary. I think it's a matter of ownership in the city just have to agree, okay, this is where it's going to go. For me, if I wanted to build a house on a mountain and somebody says, well, we'll build you this house, we'll even help pay for it, but it's going to be in this part of the city, I might go, well, I really wanted it on the mountain, but all right. And then that's it. That's all there is to it. And that's what the team should do, is just say, all right, well, we're going to put the building there. And then it's over. I want it over for Calgary fans too, because I love the natural rivalry between Calgary and Edmonton and Calgary and Vancouver. When I played table hockey, little guys, you twirl the player and you push it. The center, the puck's in front of the center. You shove it as hard as you can to get that puck through the bloody net. Used to play it for hours. I was fantastic at it. But you play table hockey, and I had it came with Montreal and Toronto. Those were the two teams that it came with. Every table hockey game came with them. And my grandparents ordered Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary for me. So I always had games between those teams. Toronto and Montreal barely got used. It was all about Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver. And I would hate to see any of that holy trinity moved or changed or anything happen. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And again, I'm doing this. I know it's late at night, even in Calgary, and I apologize. But I've been watching this today, and I thought, I'm going to do this video before bed. And then tomorrow we'll cover other things, happy things. Hopefully some training camp stuff starts coming up pretty quick here. And we'll have some other happy stuff to talk about. So thank you for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.